Tonight, we're getting a closer look at the opioid epidemic's grip on Erie County. 55 people died from known overdoses so far this year. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz says the average rate of deaths has dropped from 11 to 9 per week. Poloncarz says that number is through May 22nd, and another 129 people may have died from possible overdoses. Well, the opioid crisis is creating a backlog for medical examiners all across western New York, which keeps families in limbo.
News 4's Callan Gray is here to explain the wait for answers.
Don, Jackie, I talked to half a dozen parents here in western New York who had to wait 4 to 6 months to get autopsy results from Erie and Monroe counties, and also as far away as Brooklyn. They tell me the delay causes serious issues like having to delay a funeral and emotional stress. County representatives indicate the problem may get worse.
When Benjamin Edick died from a heroin overdose last July, he had been clean for 80 days.
It was a beautiful July morning with a cup of coffee in his hand, and he said to me, "Dad, I'll see you tonight. Love you." And out the door he went. And I said, "All right, I'll see you tonight." And he didn't come home that night.
Benjamin was 30 years old. His battle with addiction started when he hurt his back at his job and was given oxycodone. Then he started using heroin. He moved in with his father, David, while he went through treatment.
And he was really trying to get better. But then eventually there was some trigger that said, "Oh, I gotta go do this today." And it was too much.
He sent in the paperwork to get the autopsy results. When he called the Erie County Medical Examiner's office, he says they told him it would take 3 or 4 months to get the report.
He had been there, working there, I think 20 or 30 years, and he said, "Mr. Edick," he says, "I've never seen anything like this since I've been here. The amount of young people we are seeing and the deaths that we are having to report."
The Erie County Health Department says in 2015, 256 people died of opioid overdoses in the county. That's double the year before. About 44% of those happened in the city of Buffalo, 40% in the suburbs. The health department says the average age of the victims is 38 years old, and more than half of the victims have been white men. The number of people dying from opioid overdoses continues to grow.
In 2015, we had an average of about 5 suspected cases a week. They're doubling, unfortunately. And then there are additional counties that contract with our medical examiner's office that are also coming in.
And overdose cases can be complicated. The health department says deaths labeled suspected chemical intoxication require toxicology testing.
They're really overwhelmed, especially the toxicology lab within our medical examiner's office, because they not only have more tests to perform, but they have more tests that they have to develop and validate.
The drugs being used are changing. Preliminary health department data for 2015 shows fentanyl accounted for 43% of overdose deaths, up 20% from the year before. The number of deaths caused by a combination of heroin and fentanyl also grew 10% since 2014. Health Commissioner Gil Burstein says the medical examiner tries to get the autopsy results out in 60 to 90 days.
Unfortunately, now they're not always able to achieve that.
For families in Rochester, the wait can be even longer.
I did talk to the medical examiner. We called, and we were told 6 months.
We called Monroe County and made multiple requests for an interview that went unanswered. But the medical examiner told us on the phone it takes about 5 months to complete an autopsy. Rebecca Baker's son died 3 months ago from a suspected overdose.
Like someone's sitting on your chest. You just want to know. You know what I mean? He was doing so well for so long. You just, as a parent, need to know what happened. And then maybe we'd be able to hopefully sleep a little better at night.
The wait can also delay major decisions for family members.
You cannot file any kind of claims. You cannot move forward with numerous things, whether it's insurance or how to take care of other obligations that your child may have had, until you have a reason for death, and that's the autopsy.
David Edick says he got his son's autopsy results 4 months after Benjamin's death.
I'll never forget when it came. I just came into my home and I sat down and I just laid it there and I opened it and I read it.
He learned his son died of acute heroin intoxication. He says he read it twice and hasn't read it again.
My choice is that my son would want me to go on. My son would want me to go on.
We asked the State Department of Health to see if more resources will be available for medical examiners to help them with this crisis. Then they told us that falls with the county governments. Now we have reached out to Erie County and we're waiting to see if they will provide more resources going forward.
So difficult for these families, and you can understand why they need to know, they want to know. But there is a reason the county wants to know the cause of death.
Yes, it's very important moving forward that they know how someone died so they can prevent further deaths in the future and take a look at what drugs are being used, if there are new drugs on the street that they have not seen before. And that's why those new tests are so important as well, to figure out how to best combat the opioid and possibly other epidemics that could come forward.
Thank you so much, Callan.